Hello student. Today we will study the crisis of democratic order in India in 1970s. In this unit we will study how 1970s opposition parties started the revolution in Gujarat and Bihar and how it led to the emergency imposition and how the emergency created a challenge to the democratic fabric of the country and what are the upcoming election result in 1970s. So let's start with this topic of the crisis of democratic order. So as we all know, after the 1971 election, Indira Gandhi emerged as a towering leader and tremendous popularity with a tremendous popularity. So there was no other leader remains to challenge her because Congress became a dominant party in this phase. So what things that started in 1970s after that, because we know that a lot of crisis started not only in political front also but also in economic front also, because 1970 economic crisis was started after the Bangladesh crisis of 1977 1971 and 72. The Bangladesh crisis created a heavy strain on Indian economy also. A lot of approximately 8 million people crossed the borders towards the India. So these things led to a lot of economic pressure on the country. So these things that created an economic challenge. So what are the economic challenges? Because 1970 when we involved in a war and led to the creation of Pakistan, so a lot of global pressure were also on us. Global price of oil was increased in 1973-74, and the rise of oil prices not only affect the oil only but also the price of other commodity was also increased after that by 23% to 30% in 1974. The prices was increased and such a high inflation level was created and hardship for the people, so things became unaffordable for people. Food prices were increasing day by day, unemployment was very high. So these things created a chaos and unsatisfaction towards the Congress party, and monsoon failure was also created a fierce impact on crop failure. So these things culminated into economic challenges and led it integrated into the political challenge also and led to the political instability in the government, because the economic difficulty contributed to the political instability of that period, because a lot of opposition party emerged at that time and claiming that the Indira Gandhi is not doing well enough. Earlier she had given the slogan of Garibi Hatao, but now there's nothing she doing for Garibs, for the poor classes, and things and prices of things were rising alarmlessly, and there was no such reform taken by the government for the welfare of the people. So this political instability and rise of opposition party in a lot of opposition leaders, CPI, CPIM, like Communist Party of India, started very actively during this period. A lot of Naxalite movement, peasant movement. So all these started and led to the political instability of the country. I will teach you in further slide how this led to the emergency. Next thing is rise of protest movement. Why this started? Firstly, these protest movement was started, firstly they started because of economic reason. The economic crisis, what does it mean? That unaffordability of food items, rise of things, unemployment. There was no such reform taken by the government for the welfare of the masses. All these led to the successful implementation of this reform. The first movement was started in Gujarat, although there is always a political motive behind all these reform, because at last all wanted to replace Indira Gandhi with other powers or other leaders. The first movement, that is Gujarat movement in 1974. So the Gujarat movement was triggered by started as a student protest, because the students in Gujarat was agitation against the rise price of food grains, cooking oils, and other essential commodities. And they also called Congress as a corrupt party because there was no work done for the welfare of people. Opposition parties demanded a fresh election in legislature. Like Morarji Desai was a prominent leader of Congress, was a main rival of Indira Gandhi. I taught you in earlier classes that how Morarji Desai and Indira Gandhi was conflicted each other. To under the instant pressure of the student protected by the opposition, supported by the opposition party, emergency assembly election was held in the Gujarat. So these movement all started with the Morarji Desai demand for the legislature election in Gujarat, and he started a hunger strike for that. So with the opposition pressure, Gujarat legislative election was started in 1975. Or in this election of 1975, Congress was defeated in the election. So this defeat of Congress election was first shock given after the Gujarat movement. And the second movement that started was in Bihar. Bihar also the same reason, rise of commodities price, unemployment, no welfare. So all these things were also the reason for the Bihar movement. So in Bihar, the Jayaprakash Narayan, who given up active politics and was involved in social works. He used to involve in social work and led to the student movement. So Bihar also led a movement with the student. He started accepted the condition that the government will remain. He accepted the condition that the movement will remain non-violent, and but he don't wanted to limit it to into the Bihar. He wanted to spread in all the other region also, because Jayaprakash Narayan demanded the dismissal of the Congress. He wanted to dismiss the Congress party because according to him Congress was a corrupt party and not doing anything for the welfare of people party. And so he called for a revolution called total revolution. Total revolution not in term of political but also in social and economical also. He wanted to establish a two democracy. A series of Bandh, Giro and a strike were organized in a protest against the Bihar government, and the government however refused to resign because Jayaprakash Narayan wanted a total revolution not in term of politics but also in social, where everyone's given equality and everyone's have a right, and an economic reform where things will be affordable for poor classes, poor section also, and not just for a rich that country work. So he wanted a revolution in every term, social, economic and political. That's why it's called a total revolution. And who's credited for it? Jayaprakash Narayan. Maybe this question come in exam, the total revolution terms given by which, yeah, who's the reader associated with total revolution. So this can be asked in your examination. So this is how Jayaprakash Narayan started a movement against the Congress replacement. So Jayaprakash Narayan wanted to spread this movement. A lot of agitation was started. Even railway strike, a nationwide railway strike was started. It's threatened to paralyze the country. Or later on, Jayaprakash Nair led a series of march to the parliament. This was one of the largest party rallies ever held in the capital. A lot of non Congress leaders or opposition party like Bharati Jansangh, Bharati Lok Dal all also given support to the Jayaprakash Narayan. Or even they projected Jayaprakash Narayan as an alternative to the Indira Gandhi. Although Jayaprakash Narayan was not an active political leader, he was leading a student protest, but others opposition party seeing him as a alternative to the Indira Gandhi. So that's how these two movements started, and both Bihar and Gujarat agitation was seen as an anti-Congress rather than opposing the state government. So both movement, either in Gujarat or in Bihar, they were not against the state government only. The ultimate aim of these movement was to replace the Congress party in the center. This protest was seen against the Indira Gandhi directly, and Indira Gandhi believed that the movement was motivated by the personal opposition to her, because in Gujarat movement Morarji Desai was involved, who was a very strong opponent of the Indira Gandhi since her political succession. So these all things started with the rise of movement, and demand for the Congress replacement was being more and more after that period. So now let's come to the next thing, the Naxalite movement. What does it mean, Naxalite movement? These are the symbol of Naxalite movement with the red and X and hammers. The Naxalite movement was started in 1960s, 1967. This started in Naxalbari railway station, Darjeeling, West Bengal. So these are the movement influenced by the Communist Party of India, and this Communist Party of India, these Naxalite movement was use force to snatch the land from the rich landowner and give it to the poor and landless. So this started a struggle against the landless poor class. The Naxalite movement used force to snatch the land from the rich landowner and give to the peasant landless poor class. So they advocated and they used the violence against the against they used the violence against the Naxalite movement used force to snatch the land of landlords and to give them to the poor landless laborers. So these Naxalite used force and the guerrilla war tactics to fulfill their goals. In spite of the use of the preventive detention and other strong measure in Western Bengal government run by the Congress Party, the Naxalite movement didn't come to an end. These movement used the Communist Party ideology and advocated the use of violence to fulfill their means. So a lot of region was affected by the Naxal movement, not only limited to the Western Bengal, also Andhra Pradesh and the southern region. A lot of Naxal area, mostly they affect the backward region of Adivasis, where the atrocities of higher class or the landlords were high on the peasant and poor class. So Charu Majumdar was a leader who was a leader of Naxalbari uprising. He also participated in Tebhang movement also. So CPIM was later divided, and these movement affected the whole region in a lot of region of Adivasi and forest region. So this Naxalite movement was started. This Naxalite movement rooted in poverty because the forest area, tribal area were very affected by the poverty and not much care given to their upliftment. So these were also the reason for the rise of the Naxal movement in these area. So a lot of violent uprising and a lot of violent method was used by these CPI leaders under these areas. So that's how the Naxal movement was started, and now today, even though there was still remain a Naxal movement in those area, but it's limited to a very small numbers or a very small area. But these movement during 1970s was on a large scale and affects the country internal securities. They also advocate, they don't believe in any democratic order. This was also a reason, because they were totally against that democratic institution and the parliament. They had no belief, they believe in anarchist or a classless society or a state where no government had to establish. So they created a danger for a country internal security also. So this is also a challenge of 1970. Now let's come to the next thing. What is the conflicts with judiciary? What is the conflict with judiciary? As you know that when Indira Gandhi started land reform and the land was under the fundamental right, but after this announcement of the land reform, private land was snatched from the landholders and comes under the center government. So this because land was guaranteed under the fundamental right of article 19. Now this turned into the DPSP or directory principle of state policy, or became a legal right, not a fundamental right. So this also led to the question, can the parliament abridge fundamental right? And second, can parliament curtail the right to property by making an amendment? And the third is, the parliament amended the constitution by saying that it abridged the fundamental right for give affects to the directory principle, like for the welfare or for the equal distribution of resources. So all these things led to the a lot of question and a lot of conflict between the parliamentary power of constitutional amendment and versus the constitution, what is written in already fundamental rights, or what is guaranteed under the fundamental rights. So this led to a question that how much power that a parliament holds to amend the constitution. So all these series of question and amendment, there's a lot of series of amendments started with these amendment, like 24, 25 constitutional amendment. So all this led to a verdict called Keshwananda Bharti case. So this landmark Keshwananda Bharti case established the doctrine of basic structure. Basic structure, you can say a blanket term given to that this amount of the laws can be abridged by the parliament and can amend by the parliament. This basic structure, like rule of law, should not be affected by that. Fundamental right basic structure cannot amend by the parliament. So that's how this Keshwananda Bharti case given a judgment in 1973 to strengthen the judicial authority and reinforce the principle of constitutionalism. So that's how Keshwananda Bharti case created, established judiciary, and also given a lot of power to the amendment in the parliamentary institution. So this decision of Keshwananda Bharti created a lot of new things also. A lot of new judgments started on the basis of Keshwananda Bharti case. So with this land reform of Indira Gandhi, right to property was completed, ended, and became a legal right only, not a fundamental rights. But after the Keshwananda Bharti case, a lot of new things started, because as we know that what is the process of appointment of senior most judge of Supreme Court. So who became the Supreme Court judge? The senior most judge of the Supreme Court became the Chief Justice of India. But there was one instance that A.N. Rai became as a Chief Justice of India, but there was already a lot of senior judges was not made the Supreme Court Chief Justice. So this also led to a lot of political controversial, because these three judges who were surpassed and given rulings against the stand of government earlier, because that was called the reason for the appointment of A.N. Rai as a Chief Justice of India, surpassing the three senior most judge. So this also created a conflict between the judiciary and executive. So this led to a controversial debate also, ki how this is how parliament, this is how the prime minister taking control over judiciary by unethical means, or by surpassing other judge and appointing A.N. Roy as chief justice at that time. So this led to the another question of controversy during Indira Gandhi phase. So all these things really started affecting the image of Indira Gandhi, and it's costed her in the upcoming election. Now let's come to the next thing. What is the declaration of emergency? The declaration of emergency, we all know, was a brutal and a black day in Indian democracy. Even today, we call it the era of dark age in India democratic tradition. Because why, even first thing comes in our mind, why the emergency was imposed? What are the reason and how it affects the India democratic fabric? The first thing is why. Let me tell you first. June 1975, Justice Jagmohan Lal Sinha of Allahabad High Court passed a judgment and declared that the Indira Gandhi election in Lok Sabha was invalid. And you know that if Lok Sabha election was invalid, then what does it means? It needs that it's resulted in that the Indira Gandhi need to be abandoned her seat as a prime minister. So this election order came after the election petition filed by the Raj Narayan. He was also a socialist leader, a candidate who contested election in 1971. So Raj Narayan petition led to this verdict. So this petition challenged the election of Indira Gandhi on the ground that she used the service of government servant in her election campaign and unethical and immoral means for winning the election. So this judgment of High Court meant that she was no more an MP, and therefore she could not remain the prime minister unless she won again as an MP. So she given 6 months to become a member of parliament again. Till her appeal was decided, she could remain an MP but not take part in proceeding in Lok Sabha. So these created an issue and crisis for Indira Gandhi. To remain her power, she declared emergency in 1975. There is also other incident is that the opposition political leaders like Jay Prakash Nair, who already started a total revolution, all that for replacement of Indira Gandhi, started a massive demonstration in Delhi Ramlila Maidan and started announced a nationwide satyagraha for her resignation. He wanted the resignation of Indira Gandhi and asked the army, the police, and the government employee not to obey this illegal, immoral order. So a lot of things were started, and this created a danger for the Indira Gandhi government. So these all things she used for her safety, and now she used this her safety through the imposition of emergency. So a lot of imposition and freedom of press was curtailed at that time. A lot of rights were curtailed at that time. The prime minister recommended the imposition of emergency to the president Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. So he issued a proclaim immediately. After the midnight, the electricity to the all major newspaper and office were disconnected so that no one can address this issue at that day. So in early morning, in large number of leaders and workers of the opposition party and were arrested, and the emergency was imposed on 25th June 1975. The cabinet informed about this at the special meeting in 26 June when all this was done. So that's how the emergency was imposed in 1975 by the Indira Gandhi to safeguard herself and to remain prime minister of the country. So this is also created a new story and started a new episode in the life of not only Indira Gandhi but in the history of Indian democratic country also. So what are the consequences? What are the consequences of emergency? First and foremost is it's led to the opposition criticism. Opposition parties, most of the opposition leaders were arrested, they were in jail, but although who are left and who had opposition tendencies started criticizing Indira Gandhi government, and a lot of organizations were also banned. This Rashtriya Swamit Sangh RSS, Jamaat Islami, protest strike, all these things were disallowed. No one can protest, no one can gather anywhere together, and no one can conspire against the government. So these things led to the opposition of civil liberties. Article 2021 remained but only in name. So when the emergency was imposed and national emergency imposed, so everyone civil liberty and right were snatched away. No one has a right to declare anything, to say anything in public. Printing press freedom were also curtailed at that time. So there's a lot of unsatisfaction started against the government. And suppression of civil liberties. No one can say anything. Fundamental rights were curtailed. You cannot go to the Supreme Court for your assurance of fundamental rights. Everything was censored. Newspaper was censored. So all these things created a black day in Indian democracy. Now let's come to the next thing. What is the consequences of emergency? First thing is the political separation. In any democratic model, first thing is we give opposition a freedom to criticize, but with the emergency imposition, no opposition party allowed to say anything against the government. So this created a silence in opposition parties. An erosion of civil liberties, as I already mentioned, that this led to the imposition of civil liberty, no civil liberty, arbitrary arrest and detention started, censorship was started, there was no rule of law. Anyone can be arrested on the basis of that this person starting or conspiring against the government. A lot of organization, not only opposition organization but religious organization or communal basis organization like RSS, Jamaat Islami band. So that's how this created a erosion of Indian democratic model. And not only consequences in political and civil liberties, but it's also impacts the Indian economy also, because it's created an economic stagnation, because after the imposition of emergency there is no economic activity was done, everyone in their houses, no one can came out of the home. So all this, what does it lead? It's led to the economic stagnation economy, and this further increase the hardship of the people. So these are the consequences of the emergency after 1975. Now let's come to the next slide. The controversy and inquiry. The first after the emergency was imposed, Shah Commission was established to inquire, headed by the J.C. Shah, established to investigate the abuse that took place during the emergency period. So Janata Party government appointed this commission, J.C. Shah, who is a retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So he looked into the several aspects of the allegation of abuse of authority, excesses, malpractices committed, and what are the action taken during the emergency. So the even when the Indira Gandhi, who appeared before this commission, but she refused to answer any question. So she didn't cooperated with the Shah Commission. So the government of India accepted the findings and observation and the recommendation in these two interim reports and the third final report of the Shah Commission, that there is a lot of misuse of power was done during that time. Reform need to be done to strengthen the democratic model, and just by saying a prime minister, emergency cannot be imposed by president. So a lot of new law reform in article through the 42-44 amendment was done at the time to strengthen the democratic model and for further not misuse of any law by the upcoming prime minister. Now new provision was added that only not through the oral means, only by writing of the council of minister emergency could be imposed. So these all new things were added through it. And what are the legacy of the emergencies? We all know that how a lot of controversy started, and that emergency given a lesson to us that how with the loopholes of law, democratic can turn into an authoritarian government. So these all things, and how we need to be uh, protect our civil liberties and our institutional freedom, our freedom of press need to be strengthened, because during that time, when the emergency was imposed, there was no press and publisher of magazine was allowed to write against the government. Even some of the famous newspaper uh, started agitation against the government for the emergency imposition. So these things led to a lesson and a lot of reforms in the democratic constitution also. And the next thing that happened after it is the threat to the judicial independence. How it led to the judicial independence, threat to the curtail of judicial power. Because with the establishment of the emergency, the government action and legal measure put significant pressure on the judiciary, rising concern about its independence and ability to act as a check on executor. Because after the imposition of emergency, you cannot go directly to the Supreme Court for your fundamental right curtailed during that time. So it's also question then how judiciary how judiciary will safeguard the fundamental right of the people. And the erosion of law, because when the emergency was imposed in 1975, a lot of people's fundamental right to freedom was curtailed at that time. In the protest, a lot of poets and writers returned their awards. One of the very famous Shivnath Karnath, awardee Padam Bhushan awardee, returned his award in the protest of the emergency imposition. So, but government had taken no government had not taken care of all these things and continued with his authoritarian government. So it's really impacted democratic institution of the country, where people elected a government and that elected government imposed emergency and turned into an authoritarian government. So this really affected the country democratic values, judicial values, first and foremost its constitutional value. So these all things being affected by the emergency imposition. Now let's come to the next slide. What happened after the emergency? So when the emergency comes to an end, the next thing is Lok Sabha election of 1977. What happened in Lok Sabha election of 1977? So after the 18 month of emergency, the government decided to hold the election, and all the leaders who were in jail now released. An election held in March 1977. During that time period, opposition party had with very little time for prepare for the election. But all the opposition parties who suffered during the authoritarian government of Congress came together in the eve of election and form a new party. This is called a Janta Party. So the new party accepted the leadership of Jayaprakash Narayan. Jayaprakash Narayan, the one person who started the total revolution. So they became a new party under the Janata Dal. So a lot of new party and leadership of Jagjeevan Rama party, Congress for Democracy, later merged into Janta Party. Also merged. So when the election result came, so the final result took everyone by surprise. For the first time since independence, Congress was defeated in the Lok Sabha election, and one and obvious reason is the emergency imposition. Everyone suffered during this imposition. The Congress could only win 154 seats in Lok Sabha, and this popular votes fell to less than 35%. And Janta Party form a coalition government with the opposition party, and its allies win 330 seats out of the 542 seats in Lok Sabha, and Janta Party itself won 295 seats and became a clear majority in North India. It's a massive electoral wave against the Congress. And Congress also lost every constituency in Bihar, UP, Delhi, Haryana, most is this North India, and could only win one seats in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Indira Gandhi, defeated from the Rai Bareli, was her son Sanjay Gandhi from Amethi. So this was really a shocking thing. And this result of the election of 1977 was not a result of 1977, but it was the result of the emergency that was imposed by the Congress in 1975. So this emergency led to the establishment and the coming to the power of Janta Party. So this is how Janta Party came into the power, and these Janta Party started with the imposition of restoration of democracy. This Janta Party slogan that they will restore the fundamental rights, political prison from the jails were released. This period called a reclaim or return to the democratic fabric of the country. So that's how these things started. And the next thing is what we learned. We learned a lot of things, that how loopholes led to an authoritarian government, how we should create a strong firm organization, a strong firm government where no other organization, where no other political leader can misuse this power to become an authoritarian government. So this is all the legacy of the emergency and what or the result of the emergency. In this map, there's depiction of 1977 election result. This is the map depicts what are the Janta Party and how INC was remained mostly in southern India, because most of the northern India area were under the emergency impact, very highly impacted by emergency. So this region, northern or central India, Congress performed very badly. So this is the result of the Congress in 1977 election. And here I attached the Lok Narayan and Morarji Desai. About them you can also read it with your own. What are their contribution and from which party they belongs. Maybe question can ask from these also. And here are the MCQs that I have framed, that how you should more focus on how emergency imposed, and with which article national emergency imposed, which article for the state emergency. So these are the things. What are the name of the inquiry commission? So these things you need to check. You need to practice this MCQ, or even you can refer your NCRT for your further understanding and further preparation. Try to solve as much as MCQ question you can do online or offline, so this can increase your efficiency in MCQ question. So these all the question I have framed. There are 10 question total. You solve this question. So all this from my side.